the developments in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflicts. But we now head over to North America, and US Treasury Bessent says he expects the Senate to approve President Trump's massive $3.3 trillion tax cut and spending bill this afternoon. Speaking to Fox News, Scott Bessent said the administration wants to pass the bill this week and tackle trade deals with China and India next. He insists they're confident China will stick to rare earth supply promises, but the Senate remains split. Republicans are struggling to unite as marathon votes continue. Critics say the bill will add billions to America's debt and slash Medicaid. Elon Musk is threatening to fund primary challenges against Republicans who back the plan. Trump, meanwhile, wants the bill passed before the 4th of July. It extends his 2017 tax cuts, boosts defence and border funding, and includes hot-button rules on AI and healthcare. With the division deepening, all eyes are on the Senate floor to see if Republicans can deliver this win for Trump before the holiday. Well, joining us to discuss this bill that is currently going through the Senate and the potential ramifications of it, joining us is Vibhuti Jha, a former Republican Party candidate who is joining us from New York. Vibhuti, thank you ever so much for joining us. This bill, of course, has been controversial. It has seen a divide and a feud between two allies who are arguably two of the most important people in the world, whether that's politically or financially. But also this bill politically through the House of Representatives and now the Senate has caused a lot of debate. Can you provide some context for us on why this is so divisive and what the next steps are for this bill if it's passed?
Thank you very much for having me over to your show today. And, this, in my opinion, is a classic, scene in which you are seeing democracy can go chaotic. As one of the venerable Americans once told me, that while India has a tragedy of thousands of parties, America has a tragedy of two-party system. And as a result of which, you get the viewpoints of either or, but never the third party. It's a very interesting thing. That's why Elon Musk's threat to launch a new party, if this bill is passed, it will be a very serious one. However, let's put some things in perspective. United States has had a tremendous global, right to print notes, currency notes as a fiat currency for a very long time, ever since the Bretton Woods Agreement, nullified gold as a standard. Dollar became a standard. Petrodollar became a standard. So United States had a unique advantage in the global trade that it could print notes worth 17 cents and collect $100 for that. Think about it from that perspective. That led to a systemic, indulgence by both parties to spend to cater to the domestic demand. So US growth is dependent on the dollar's supremacy around the world. Now what has happened, fast forward, so the United States senators and congressmen could put any amount of pork projects in the bill and that would sail through because every senator or congressman was getting something in return. So the question here is very important. Today, $36 trillion worth of debt to GDP ratio, exact $36 trillion. The GDP ratio is so skewed that if you and I had this kind of a debt to income ratio, nobody will give us a penny. But the United States enjoys a very unique position in the world. The dollar is still the most, is the reserve currency of the world. Now the financial obesity that United States is suffering from is leading Trump to understand, he understands it, the politician doesn't. Biden did not get it. Obama did not get it. These people were all politicians of the classic mold where promising the moon to the electorate was the name of the game. You can see that. In democracies, it happens. Politicians promise the moon to their voters.
Yes.
Because they want to show that they can do X, Y, Z things. Trump is a businessman and he knows you can't because you are now suffering from a severe case of financial obesity with which, forget about running, you can't even walk at this point in time. So, but then this budget bill has to be passed for the simple reason, just because you are suffering from obesity and you want to lose weight doesn't mean you stop eating. So there has to be a combination of an extreme weight loss program. This is what happens when you try to lose weight, that you have to have a mix of agendas. Several tax cuts needed to spur business. At the same time, you have to remove the fat that caused you all this problem. So the politician first has to lose his base, where you cannot have, a program, millions of dollars, and there are many of such kinds. There are millions of dollars to study a particular behavior or pattern of rats, monkeys, and dogs.
Absolutely.
That is unfair on the animals as well as on us.
Yes,
so the US is right now in a bind, and it has to do something drastic, and that's what you are seeing, the checks and balances in play. Both parties are negotiating hard to see that their agenda sails through and the other one gets the blame. So you are looking at politics of a very vile kind. And Trump issued the challenge, said they made the very dire statement that if you don't pass this bill, it will lead to the greatest tax increase ever, which will cost up $68 billion, 68% tax increase, because the tax concessions given in the previous regime, if it allowed to lapse, it will suddenly skew the complete economy. So you are looking at a scenario where both parties are struggling to save the country, save the party, and save the process.
Absolutely.
And that will continue. And I think the bill will pass. There are two opponents, Republicans, who are holding out, but I think it will pass because there is no other choice. Posturing apart.
Yes, and that political conversation will continue. Those questions will continue. Vibhuti is staying with us as we continue to discuss North American politics, staying with US President Donald Trump, who has signed an